property management's death by a thousand cuts. People are getting yelled at all day. They're getting problems thrown at them from all different sides, and they're having to hold that flame for everybody involved as a fiduciary, as a support system for residents and teammates. But going that extra mile of like, hey, if a problem happens, how can I make this a really big win for the resident? How can I show them that I do care about the problem? How can I have a little bit of empathy, even if it's a terrible day? I think those people are doing really well. And those people have systems in place that enable some of the brute force, I think, of the negativity that can be really overwhelming, that takes like the edge off of it.
Welcome to Unfiltered, the official podcast of propertymanagement.com. I am your host, Dylan Scroggins. Matt, my typical co-host, is not here today, but we got a special guest, Mr. Evan Howard with Second Nature. Evan, appreciate you jumping on the pod, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy Monday. And you're always cooler than me, but especially with that awesome hat. So for our Spotify, Apple listeners, jump on YouTube just so you can see this hat.
My dang hat.
Your dang hat. And then what's that behind you? That's some Grateful Dead? Or?
That's my Dead & Co. Raleigh tour poster. I think it's supposed to be the last official show, but then they played like 32 times at the Sphere. So it's always the last time. And then it's the last time before the last time.
Yeah, good salespeople. Hey, this discount's expiring soon. And then you get it the same one a year later. So speaking of sales, Evan, tell us what you do at Second Nature. And for anyone who's literally been under a rock the last 10 years, or maybe has spent maybe 9 hours in property management, tell us, what is Second Nature? So first off, what's your role there? Secondly, who is Second Nature? And adding a third one here, how did you get involved in this fun world of property management?
Yeah. So I work with strategic accounts at Second Nature. So anybody that's kind of spread across the country, multi-market, complex kind of national property managers, I do all of our partnerships there. Also with net new products, help a lot with the go-to-market function and, at all the events as well. So I kind of all over the place, but mostly in the go-to-market arm with the larger accounts that Second Nature works with. At Second Nature, what we do, we have essentially the industry's only resident experience platform that helps facilitate resident benefits packages. So our goal is to really make the resident experience convenient and to help operators deliver services that do so, that also have a revenue impact, that save time for the operator and increase the value of the asset for the investor as well. So, and that's what we call kind of the triple win approach. I think the big problem that Second Nature is looking at right now is kind of the education gap between the parties in that three-legged stool. So, what does the resident think living in a home means versus what the property manager thinks that they told the resident versus what the investor thinks the property manager has told the resident and is doing. And so how can we empower all parties to get more on the same side instead of playing tug of war and, make all of those relationships as frictionless as possible is, I think, the big, beautiful vision that we're trying to march towards together.
Yeah. What I've noticed about Second Nature is that you're really intentional about your semantics, and you just use the word relationship in regards to owners and tenants, which typically there is no relationship. So I've noticed that about you and the team.
Yeah, man. I think what I always come back to is like, a lot of times there may be some kind of contentious relationship or there may be competing priorities in certain functions. So if we can, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. If we can incentivize if we can marry all of the incentives together, like, hey, what makes this a really good property to live in for a resident that also makes it really easy to take care of for the investor and takes things off of a property manager's plate. If those three things marry and march together, then everybody will be happy because everybody's interests are aligned. And that's much easier said than done, I think, not only in life, but in property management for sure. So that's just kind of the wood we're trying to chop on little itty bitty things, and more grease we can add to the wheels, more friction we can remove. I think the closer we get to that.
Love it. Well, just rewind a little bit. Tell us again, how did you get involved in property management?
Yeah. So my buddy Andrew Smallwood, he hired me back in the day in 2010 at a little company called Cutco, where we were slinging blades. Everyone says door to door. Technically, you're not really knocking on doors. You're setting up appointments before. You call all of your high school friends' parents. You say, "Hey, can I come over? Show you some chopping, slicing, cutting a penny, all that good stuff." I think everyone in Nashville and Birmingham has had someone come over to their house for a Cutco appointment. But we started working together. He hired me in 2010, worked together for 8 years there. And then we were running a road show. We helped kind of stand up the Costco program with Cutco. We were running a road show one Christmas, I think 2016. He said, "I'm going to talk to this guy about filters." I said, why are you talking about water filters? That doesn't make any sense. And he said, no, 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 air filters. It's real estate related. I said, that sounds like the only thing more boring than kitchen cutlery. Lo and behold, a year later, I was over at the filter company. My whole vision was I want to be at the intersection of real estate and technology. I think this was before, prop tech had even been tagged as a thing that people said. But I remember talking to Thad on the phone when I was first interviewing. At the time, he was still interviewing every salesperson. And he essentially gave me kind of the 5-year vision of delivering resident services outside of just the HVAC filter delivery program. And it took us a couple years to get there, but over the 8 years now that I've been here, pretty much everything he said came to fruition, maybe some more roundabout than others, but it's really cool to see that unfold. And I remember many a late night chatting around what a resident experience platform would look like, what kind of making things more convenient for everybody would look like, and how we could systematize and create a platform around experiences. And it's been really fun, and in that journey, part of my reason for coming over was also I wanted to get involved in real estate myself, like real estate investment. And so that's been really awesome. My clients have also become my mentors. I got a shout out Sean Johnson. He taught me like kind of the first way to set up my investment portfolio. And it's been awesome to learn from him and other people in the space that I get to work with every day.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I didn't realize you were Cutco. Anytime I see Vector, which is like the parent company, I think, I'm like, man, that person knows how to sell. So when I'm recruiting, especially like BDMs, the fact that you got Cutco in there, man, not surprised. This place is a talent factory.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome to learn how to sell there. Yeah, Vector's like the marketing arm. Cutco's like the manufacturing piece of it. Cutco makes the knives, Vector sells them kind of thing, but they're one and the same effectively. But yeah, really cool to, as an 18, 19-year-old student, mostly you're learning to fail, like learn how to pick up the phone, learn it's okay. There was many a times where like I was just so stressed and nervous driving up to someone's house that I didn't know. I'm like, they're not going to buy anything from me. They're going to yell at me out of their house. And so now just like going through that younger and kind of like getting that out of the way really taught self-sufficiency in sales. Mostly your first job in sales is learning how to get told no. And then everything after that, you're kind of figuring it out as you go.
Yeah, 100%. Well, man, one of the reasons we wanted you on the pod is that we want a lot of voices in this space, right? And I think, we're fully aware that everybody and their mother has a podcast, and we have plenty of folks that have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. We got some folks next week who are part of a 20,000 door portfolio. That's all great, and we're excited to have them. But I do feel like folks like you who have been in the industry, the fact that you're a property, owner is also awesome. But I remember meeting you at Broker Owner earlier this year, and you're like the mayor of NARPM, just walking the floor, giving hugs, daps, everything. I was like, who's that guy? The purple coat was great too. So obviously you built a lot of relationships in this space. Obviously you like this space. You've been in it for almost a decade now. And I also feel like being a, vendor, partner, whatever you want to call yourself in this space, like you're kind of the small town barber, right? Like people tell you things that they might not tell their peers, Jaber Crow for any Wendell Berry fans out there. So Tell us, man, like right now, you having conversations with a lot of people in the market, granted larger portfolios, but also smaller ones. What's getting people excited right now? Is there anything concerning people right now? Tell us, like we're interviewing the barber here. Like, what are people saying in the chair?
I love that analogy. That's a great one.
It matches your long hair too, so we're gonna really roll with
I
it.
have not been to a barber in months.
Yeah,
Yes.
ironically, you haven't been to a barber in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm really grateful for NARPM. I'm really grateful for all of the people that have become my friends in the industry and made this place so fun to be a part of. When I first started with Second Nature, I lived out in New Mexico. I was managing a territory of like 7 states. So I would go to 3 or 4 NARPM meetings a week, drive around to offices after that. So I really got to meet a lot of people, kind of learn how these, family owned businesses and small businesses were growing. And also got to watch a lot of these now kind of behemoths in the industry grow from, 500 to 1,000 to 3,000 to 30,000 doors, which has been really cool to see. And some of them are a combination of a lot of people I've gotten to meet over the time. I think what a lot of people are thinking about now is, hey, how do we more efficiently run our business? Obviously AI and automation, whether one is more the other or or is just automation, whatever it may be, is a big trend right now. I think there's some great people in the space just kind of sitting down and thinking about proselytizing, if you will, the property management space. You know, there's certain people in the industry who do a really good job around, hey, automating and putting really strict processes around certain things and enabling faster communications with residents, faster maintenance triage, quicker turns, etc. And so I think costs is the margins are super tight in SFR. So cost is always a big consideration. And if people can do the simple things really well and remove friction from those processes, I think that's always going to move NOI significantly. On the other end of the spectrum, I think that, one thing that Second Nature and we talk about all the time is how do you make experiential impact, right? So how do you make things a better experience? How do you make a better experience for investors? How do you make a better experience for your residents? How do you make a better experience for your team? And I don't think that necessarily has to mean like the Walt Disney fireworks everywhere experience. It just means thoughtful moment making of going the extra mile when, a resident has some kind of problem. And we know like property management's death by a thousand cuts. People are getting yelled at all day. They're getting problems thrown at them from all different sides, and they're having to hold that flame for everybody involved as a fiduciary, as a support system for residents and teammates. But going that extra mile of like, hey, if a problem happens, how can I make this a really big win for the resident? How can I show them that I do care about the problem? How can I have a little bit of empathy, even if it's a terrible day? I think those people are doing really well. And those people have systems in place that enable some of the brute force, I think, of the negativity that can be really overwhelming, that takes like the edge off of it a little bit. And some people have processes that take that off. Some people have processes that predict and preventively address those things, whether it be understanding when maintenance might happen and have preventative pieces fall into place before that, or understanding when a team member is, really burning the candle at both ends and helping them take a step back or, put something in process that helps them. Or, understanding an investor might be overwhelmed and this is their only investment and, they're about to have a $2,500 boiler bill and they may or may not be ready for it. They may or may not have savings there. How can that person, that property manager kind of prepare them for what we know as experts or what property managers know as experts in this is about to happen. You're at the end of the lifeline. We've had 3 maintenance calls on this, how can they prepare that person? And I think that is what I call like the experiential impact of property management.
Yeah, no, it seems like Second Nature not only, and this is not an advertisement for Second Nature. They're not paying us for this podcast. They're welcome. I'll give you my Venmo. But it seems like, yes, you provide a great experience to your clients, but also you coach them up and give them a taste of what it's like. I mean, even at Broker Owner, like the infamous Second Nature party, I can't remember if we hung out at Southern States, but like, man, like, you know, to throw a party, but it's not about the party, right? Like, it's about giving people something to look forward to. It's about setting a reputation. And now, like, there's an expectation. And when the expectation's always exceeded, that's when it really kind of just like becomes a part of, I don't know, like, yes, it's an expectation, but it's also like it like personifies the organization. And I think that's what you and you have a great LinkedIn game as well. You've just always been a great representation of them, but also Second Nature seems to have this just like incredible partnership reputation that you can just feel.
Yeah, I think one thing that's gone really well across Second Nature, and one thing that we pride ourselves in, is just we wouldn't be anywhere without our partners. And so I don't know, I'll speak for myself in being like, I am friends with many of my past and current clients. So much so, like I'll hang out, I go fishing with a couple of them. Like I do a lot with them, and I spend a lot of time, late nights, early mornings talking with some of these folks. And we just really want them to be successful and do whatever we can to help. And I can't ever say like I'm an expert at property management. All I'm doing is trying to share what I learned from all of these people. And if I hear, one of my friends or one of my property management clients saying, "Hey, we're struggling with this," like, and one of my other ones said, "Hey, we're doing a really great job at this," it's just in my nature to kind of connect those dots and maybe even introduce those people. Sometimes it's just regurgitating what I hear when I'm having a lot of those conversations. And I think because we've been given so much by the industry, we really want to give back. And we know that it can be a thankless everyday job. And so with those parties like you're mentioning and the events, we really want to kind of just drop the purple heart, the love bomb when we can, and get all those people together and kind of show them that we care and that we love them. And I think that is just at the ethos of what we want to do. And then that just keeps continuing through the organization. One thing that I've seen that's really cool, and I was worried about this in the past, where it's like, hey, when we get, keep growing massively, do we kind of lose some of that? And I was telling somebody, I forget who it was, at our last event. We had our last like whole company event. We do it twice a year because we're a fully remote company. We do whole company event twice a year. We did it in Montreal this last time. And I said, I don't know how this keeps happening, but it seems like the thread of culture and the thread of Purple Heart is actually getting magnified more as we grow versus diluting. And I was thoroughly surprised by that personally, even though I'm kind of in it every day. I do interact with a lot of the same people every day, but seeing like people I've never met before, how excited they are and how much they care about kind of carrying on that ethos has been really exciting to see.
That's awesome. Well, man, we're going to land the plane here with a few quick fire questions. So, we'd love to hear from you. What's the favorite tool or app that you're using right now for your business that you think some property management owners should consider? And it does not have to be a PM tool.
I mean, I use Notion on my short-term rentals. I know there's a couple property managers, probably half dozen, that know a lot more than me about processes and probably use it better than me. So I use that, which has been really helpful. There's some great automation in there. I know there's a couple of the systems architects that are using that, and there's some Zapier integrations and whatnot with property management software. So that's been
Love
helpful.
it. Shout out Notion. Our friend Peter Lohman loves some Notion.
Mhm.
What about a book or podcast every PM leader should check out?
Book or podcast? What am I reading right now? I'm actually reading I'm reading Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell right now, which is actually really good. It is a textbook, but it's just fundamental economics. I got it from the Naval podcast, Naval Ravikant.
Yeah.
That's a great podcast if anyone wants to listen to that. But he's just got really kind of like philosopher esque content, and Basic Economics was one of the books that he read. It's
Yeah,
not
that all
exciting, but it is kind of funny.
yeah, that almanac book of like a compilation of his stuff, that's solid. All right, man. One last question. One word to describe the future of property management.
Abundant.
What a great word. Not surprised at all. Coming from the hug mayor of property management, who gives an abundance of love and daps to everybody on the floor. That's awesome, man. Cool. Well, man, I appreciate you having you on. Especially, we tend to, and you probably get some eye rolls from some of our listeners, but talk about college football every episode. So to hit that quota, love that you support the Tide. It's nice to not have Matt on here who keeps on talking about Indiana as if they have a football team.
Who is
Their
that?
football school. It's laughable. It's cute. Let them talk. But yeah, man, do you think Bama's going to make the playoff?
I definitely think we're in, what is it? Is 8, 12, 52 teams now? We're definitely going to make the playoff. I mean, we have, I think, number one strength of schedule or something of all of like the top 10 teams right now. We got to play like 4 more top 20 ranked teams.
Yeah, see, that's the
Vanderbilt,
problem.
is it the first time that Vanderbilt and Alabama have been top 20 that they've ever played? I think it might be.
It's the
Wow.
first time in like 60 years. So you being in Nashville, man, I don't know if you're coming
I
to the
know.
game or not, but yeah, who knew that game day would be at Vandy, Bama? So we shall see. This podcast won't get released until a month after this, but yeah, man, I hope he can edit this out if we lose.
Well, Smallwood went to Vandy for like basically a semester and lives in Nashville. So we have like a sibling rivalry of it. He's only won once in our 15-year relationship,
Yeah.
which was last year. So now I'm like dipping my toe in the water to try and talk some smack, but I also am like worried that we're probably going to ruin it again. But
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have some revenge power in us this year.
And that's what people don't understand about Bama. They think we're all walking around like talking smack and like super cocky, which is true. But also, you've never met a more just fear-driven, insecure, pessimistic fan base. Like it's like a trust fund's been taken away, and now we're just like picking up all the pennies you cut with your Cutco knife. We're trying to make ends meet, man. So yeah, man, we're a depraved fan base, but hey, who knows? We might win it all this year.
When you lose one game a year and it's terrible, you're in a tough spot. You can't lose one game,
seriously.
and otherwise it's a down year.
Yeah, you're spoiled, and I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks again. I really appreciate you being on the pod, and thanks for all the work you do at Second Nature, just for the industry as a whole.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me.
Awesome, man. See ya.
Talk soon, brother.